Hi, guys. Welcome back to the Purposeful Wisdom Podcast. I am yours truly, Dawn Christine. Thank you guys so much for being here today. We are going to have some fun today, you guys. I've gotten so many private messages from women reaching out to me going, okay, Dawn, a few episodes back, you're talking, about divorce and how to push through that. And what about after the divorce? What
Yeah.
about dating and moving on. Guys, I have a treat for you today. I have with me Miss Martha Bodyfelt today. Martha is a dating coach and certified mind surgery method practitioner for grown-ass women ready to upgrade how they date so they can attract and experience secure love. Since 2016, she's been professionally coached and mentored hundreds of women using her unique dating DNA framework, a powerful tool that shows women how to quickly stop their dating self-sabotage, get confident in their standards, and effortlessly attract and keep the love they desire. Martha also serves as an expert contributor to the Huffington Post, Elephant Journal, Psychology Today, and Thrive Global, where her advice regularly impacts over 10 million women, y'all. I'm so grateful, Martha. Thank you so much for being here.
Yes. Thank you for having me. I'm so happy to be here and speak with your audience.
This is awesome because I got so many questions. Like, what
Yeah.
now, Dawn? Like, bring on a guest that can help us, because I think we're all into this stage where, we're not in our 20s anymore, where we're going to tolerate things. We're in our
Oh, yeah.
40s and older.
Mhm.
And we just can't have patience anymore. We don't have time for the BS, so to
Yep.
speak. I'll put that lightly.
Oh, yeah.
We know what we want. We know what we don't want by this
Mhm.
age for
We
most of
better,
us.
or we should, right? Like, yeah.
Right. So tell us, I'd love to get a backstory first before we dive into the questions. How did your journey begin? Because I'd love for my audience to know your journey of what brought you to this profession.
Yeah, absolutely. So I did not go to high school and have like I went to high school, but a guidance counselor say, hey, here's this journey to become a dating and mindset coach for grown ass women who are maybe having been divorced or are, haven't dated in decades or years. And so I originally started kind of my life as far as kind of coaching and helping women. I originally started my life out in this kind of arena as a divorce coach. I went through a pretty nasty, crazy divorce a lot sooner than a lot of my peers did. And so I was divorced by the time I was 30 and making all of the mistakes and trying to put myself out there. And a couple of years later, I had some friends who were going through divorce and saying, hey, how do we figure this out? And so that led to this kind of beautiful kind of first career in coaching as a divorce coach, helping women kind of get, kind of find their purpose, trying to figure out things, trying to put themselves first. But one of the really kind of fun patterns I started to notice with all these incredible grown ass women who I was working with, I love to call, any woman who is 40 and better, we are grown ass women.
Yeah, we are.
And what I found was women were not needing really help with, oh, what is my life purpose? Or, oh, how do I speak to my lawyer? What they said was, Martha, I haven't dated since maybe like the second Clinton administration. And all I know about dating is a Tinder swindler. Can you help me? And I was like, well, damn straight, I can help you. I had made the mistakes before. I had, had my heart broken. I had done all the things that, the ladies shouldn't be doing. And in addition to that, I actually found love again and I remarried about 18 months ago. And
Yes.
so thank you. Thank you. I like to call my first husband kind of my rough draft husband, my starter husband. And so it was just kind of knowing in all of those mistakes that I'd made well over 10 years, as well as getting my coaching certification, as well as getting my mind surgery method certification. So I thought, why don't I put this all together and become a dating and mindset
Right.
coach for grown ass women? Because I don't want any of you lovely ladies to have to kind of like be wandering around in the desert for well over 10 years, making all
Oh,
the mistakes like I did. So let us condense that to give you kind of that clarity and that confidence. And you know what? Some of the women that most successful women I've well, not dated, but I've coached realize that they're like, you know what? Actually, I don't want to date now, but you helped me realize that, I'm not buckling under
Ooh.
pressure. But then there's a lot of really other incredible women I've worked with that are like, yes, finally I know how to date. So it was just kind of like beautiful organic evolution over, I would say, about 10 years. And I'm having so much fun working with women like this. I'm really happy to be here.
I love that. And I love it was almost like a light bulb moment. Like,
Yes.
seeing if I can combine everything and build
Yes.
this beautiful system, for women to just not only have the empowerment, but take out the frustration
Oh yeah.
because it is, again, it's this constant, and I'm in my head about it a lot too. I've been divorced a couple of years
Yep.
now,
Yep.
and it's like, yeah, do I really want to do it and put and like, go through that? Because I know what I want, but do I really want to like go down that road? And then there's times
Right.
where I'm like, I wonder what's out there, but I
Mhm.
don't think if I want dating apps. And so it's just like this back and forth because there is like for the older generation, like
Right.
dating apps are new. It's a new
Sure.
thing. And we're like, how do you get to know someone through a picture? Like it's
Absolutely.
a hard concept to like, put that in your head. And so I'd love to start out with, because again, uh we're definitely in the right mindset here because I'm a
Yeah.
mindset coach as well. So I
Yeah.
love the fact that you bring mindset into this. What are some of those mindsets that you've seen
Mhm.
that women come to you and all of a sudden it's like this limiting belief system? I'm
Yes.
not good enough, I'm not
Mhm.
worthy enough, like all this stuff that we tell ourselves. How do you handle that? How do you approach that?
Right, because no, I mean, it's a great question because each person is definitely unique in what brought them to have those limiting mindsets, and each woman that I work with is going to have kind of a different way that makes her feel good, attracting the love that she deserves and how she wants to approach that. But there are a lot of very kind of common elements that I see with a lot of the incredible women, and a lot of the very common things that I see, especially with women with as grown ass women over 40, is this kind of idea of it's too late for me. And that is probably kind of the biggest kind of hurdle and limiting belief that I hear with my clients who are they're CEOs. They're in banking, they're college professors. They've come, they're veterans. They've come from these very kind of powerful positions and they've built their careers up, whether it was, after their divorce, whether it was after their separation with a partner, or even like being a widow. And there's this for some reason they say it's too late for me. And so what we do is a lot of that mindset work, but also what I like to do even before I got my mind surgery method is kind of, well, let's look at the evidence. What are the reasons? And this is the way that I love to approach that. What are the reasons that you think it's too late for you? And that is
Mhm.
causing them to then kind of not say, oh, well, all these men are terrible, or there's no good men, or no one's going to like a woman, I have gray hair and I'm not, a cute little 25-year-old. I'm like, well, let's actually talk about that. Let's get into that a little bit. What evidence do you have? I went to college on a debate scholarship and I actually worked in military intelligence when I was in the army. So I like to bring all these experience, these life experiences of, well, actually let's get like down and dirty and figure out
Yes.
why you even believe that so we can like better understand that. I'm obviously not a therapist, but let's understand that so then we can move forward. And so that's probably the best or the most kind of exciting, effective approach with my methodology is let's examine where does this even come from? Why do you believe it? What are these points of evidence to the contrary? And how can we actually proactively release these beliefs and get you more empowering ones? So then, after those belief systems, then we can figure out a wonderful strategy to help you attract incredible love. Because what I see with a
Right.
lot of dating coaches, which just, I'm going to be honest, annoys the shit out of me, is it's just, well, let me just teach you how to write a really compelling dating profile. You could have Maya Angelou write your dating profile. But if you have not like bravely faced the things that are holding you back and bravely faced maybe the things that you have maybe subconsciously contributed to your own unhappiness in relationships, the best written profile is not going to help you. So it is
Oh.
digging to the root of the issue, releasing that, and then we work on the methodology and we work on the strategy. So I think that's kind of my it's a kind of my common framework. It's a part of my dating DNA, and I have so much fun just seeing how empowered these already empowered women become and really take hold of their love lives, or get the clarity of like, you know what, I actually just want to go travel the world and do my own thing. But regardless, is really owning your decision and having the clarity to that. And that's why I approach the work I do the way I do.
Oh, wow. Well, first, thank you for your service. That
Oh,
definitely
thank you.
doesn't go unnoticed here on this platform for
Appreciate that.
sure. I mean, you protected our country for all these years. I definitely have to commend that because
Appreciate
I
that.
mean, you're even more of a badass. Like
Yep.
seriously, I love that. And, secondly, too, what popped into my mind, especially, you have these CEOs, these high profile women,
Yeah.
and then you have the everyday women, and myself included, that also have children. And I feel
Sure.
that that's also a huge limiting belief for a lot of women. Like, okay, I'm a single mom. And, I hate to use the word baggage, but this is what society calls it.
Hmm.
A lot of society says, well, you have baggage. No, look, first of all, these are my kids. They will
Right. You're
always come
awesome.
first,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? But I think there's also this limiting belief that just because you're a parent, divorced or separated, or whatever
Sure.
your case
Sure.
is, that because you have other people
Hmm.
involved, you don't have anything to offer, and I think that's such BS because you're first of all, the partner that I truly believe will come into your life is accepting of you and your children, and
Yeah.
is not for them. Like, yes, they will reap the benefits of a friend. They're not going to replace a mom or a dad. They never will, they
Hmm.
never can,
Yep.
right? Partner
Hmm.
is for you. It's to complement the other person. So I think if
Hmm.
like you pull it apart in that respect, that craziness or that belief that a lot of parents think of, oh, like because I have kids, no one will want me. Like, not at all. What do you feel
Right.
about
Oh my God. I have all of the things to say about this. And so
it?
it's interesting because a lot of the gentlemen friends I have, or I've had male clients in the past as well. And to answer the part about if women who are single mothers who kind of feel self-conscious, I'm like, first of all, why isn't society ever shining a light on the men? Like, if you're a single mother, where does that mean the dad is an absent father? Like, why aren't we talking
Right.
about that? Like, but then what I've actually had like a lot of my guy friends say, as well as my male clients, is the woman, if you were looking for like a real hardworking woman who wants you there and doesn't need you there, you date a single mom,
Bingo.
because a single mom can hold it down herself. She is the CEO of the house. She is a CFO. She is a COO. She is making sure that those kids are, not only are they getting like the nutrition and the nurture and all of that, but then she's also being the enforcer. And so to what I love working with women, because a lot of my obviously a lot of my clients, because they are a little bit, in their 40s, 50s, or 60s, their children might be teenagers or in college, but they're still the children, right? So
Of
there is
course.
still that attitude of, well, I've got to, my kids are 15 and 16. How are they going to approach, what do I even introduce this gentleman to my children? Oh, I'm self-conscious. What if my kids are 8 to 10? How am I going to figure out the babysitter situation? Is the guy going to, like look down on me? And to that, I say, if a guy who's going to look down on you, he's just not your match. Because guess what? For every single mom, there are a lot of hot single dads. So
Good
that
to
is what I am
know.
loving as well. There are plenty of, I've worked with a lot of women who end up like marrying, the single dads, and they have these beautiful, incredible blended families. And so for
Right.
any woman who is kind of self-conscious, no, no, because remember, you don't need any of these men. And when you
Right.
come from a place of power and you come from a place of abundance, that they have to prove themselves to you. How are they important enough? How are they worthy enough to be introduced to your children? When you come from that mindset, that makes you a lot more powerful and a lot more confident. And if a guy doesn't want your baggage, I say, fuck him. Can I say that here?
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Oh yeah, you can say that here
because he's not,
for sure.
why would you want somebody like that in your life anyway? So
Exactly.
those definitely, that is my
Exactly.
answer to
Oh,
that question.
I'm so no, I'm honestly because you're the expert in this, but we're similar with the mindset. It's just
Oh
like,
yeah.
okay, bye, Felicia, like you're gone. But I wanted them to
Yeah.
hear it from you, the expert, because that is exactly right. That's exactly how I feel. I know
Absolutely.
my audience feels the same way here. What So how does one get started here? We're 40s and older,
Mhm.
we're like, okay, we've made this conscious decision, like, okay, you know what? It's been long enough. I've worked
Mhm.
on myself. I come to this point where I know what I want. I won't settle for anything less. I mean, Jesus himself at this point has to come down to this earth and impress me. I'll be perfectly honest. I mean, I went from having hardly any standards to like such high,
All of them.
and I'm
Yeah.
just joking around. Like I have real expectations of what I would want as a partner.
Sure.
But where do we all get started here?
Yeah.
What method? How do we even start this?
Absolutely. And this is one of the parts this is the first part that I absolutely love in my dating DNA, which is something that my clients, whether we work one-on-one or whether they're in the incredible small group programming with other badass women called Ready for Love, that is where we start. We start with the first component of the dating DNA program, which is complete clarity. Is figuring out, if you want to know where to start, you have to start with your why. We've probably all heard that TED talk with like by Simon Sinek and all of that with business and whatnot. That starts in your life as well. What is your why? What are the reasons that you want to date right now? What are the reasons that you want to have somebody in your life? What are the reasons that you want to be vulnerable? What are the reasons that you want to put the effort in? Because we know dating sometimes can be like a part-time job. What are the reasons that you want to do it? What are the reasons that you want to have that conversation with your, with your children that, hey, you guys are going to, be with auntie so-and-so. She's going to be watching you for the night. Mama's going on a date. What are the reasons that you want that? And I like to start with that because you have to get very clear. Now, if you're not clear, and I was actually talking to, I was speaking with one of my clients last week, and she said, well, I kind of feel like the only reason I should date is because everybody thinks I should date. And I feel like people are feeling uncomfortable if I come solo. So I guess I should find somebody to date. And I said, well, respectfully, what do you want? What do
Exactly.
you want? Like, do you even want to date? And so that is where we have to start, is if you're like, yes, I do, because I like the companionship. I'd love somebody to, to kind of like dick me down in the best way possible. Like, just take ownership of that
Right.
I want to date. I want to have a partner. I want to have that kind of camaraderie. I want to have that friendship. And if you don't want that and you're like, well, I actually just kind of want to have some arm candy, or if I just want like a casual thing, take ownership of that.
Right.
No reason. The only reason that I think is just does not, doesn't any reason can serve you, but it's just owning your reason and having clarity of that reason. Now, usually if I do come across a client who says, well, I just feel self-conscious about being alone, or, people keep trying to set me up and saying, we want to see you settle down already. Well, let's actually kind of examine that.
Right.
Are you dating from a place of scarcity then? Because that's going to end up in disaster. But
Right.
any of these other reasons of, I want to have a partner in crime. You know what? I would love to have a blended family, or I would love to, I would love to travel again, or I would love to, just have somebody to go to the movies with, or anything like that, or to cook dinner with. Whatever that reason is for you, as long as it's coming from a place of strength, own that reason. So that is where I definitely would advise and encourage everybody listening to this to start, is get that clarity, is to take ownership of that. Now, if you don't know how to do that, that is definitely something as a dating coach I can help you with. But if you are going to be doing this by yourself, get that clarity and take ownership of that for you.
Right. And that makes perfect sense,
Yeah.
and then, once you have the clarity, you have your why,
Mhm.
whatever that reason is for you, especially that you can own that, right? Not
Oh, yeah.
not having that peer pressure to come from others, like, sorry if I'm making you uncomfortable because I'm the single one. Like,
Yeah.
no way.
Hmm.
Like, that's not a good enough reason in my eyes,
Right.
because other people that means other people are uncomfortable.
Right.
That
Has
makes
nothing to do
them
with you.
uncomfortable.
Hmm.
It has nothing to do with you. So
Hmm.
really be honest
Yeah.
with your true self of the reason why you want to get back out there. Okay, so we have this mentality now where we
Yes.
know our why. What next? Where do we
So
go?
Right. So the second part of my dating DNA framework is called the dating confidence. So spoiler alert, these are all C's. So if C is cookie and that's good enough for me, C with dating clarity, confidence, and connection, that's good enough for me in my dating DNA framework. So confidence. So confidence is not just this very surface level, just put on some red lipstick and go have fun and just be confident. Look, if you like red lipstick, that's fine. But to me, when I hear that, and I knew that the dating industry for women 40 and better had to change, because that's like the only bullshit that you'd hear is, oh, just look, wear a cute black dress, or just smile, or just be more open. You're putting a lot of that kind of burden on yourself as if women aren't already burdened with everything. And
Right.
so when we talk about confidence, it comes from something much deeper. And so a part of the dating DNA that I would advise women to do as well if we aren't working together is to just get very clear as well on what are your standards? Like, what are you looking for? And spoiler alert, what you were looking for in a guy when you were 18, when you were 25, shit, maybe even when you were 30, should probably be much different than what you were looking for, because we've changed, our life situations have changed, and our expectations should have changed. And so when we take a look at, what are our standards? Something that we, I think, as women have a tendency to do is we kind of overgeneralize. And so what I do with my clients is I talk about what are some of these nice to haves? What are the areas of compatibility? What are the non-negotiables? What are the absolute must-haves? And what I realize working with women and talking with them is the things that they think are non-negotiables are actually, they're nice to haves. And so I like to say, and what I like to walk my clients through is really getting very, very solid in what are your 5 absolute non-negotiables, whatever those are for you. And so once you have that, and once you know that those are the things that are absolute, like, non-negotiable for you, once you know those, then you go out and then you actually can like go and start kind of talking to people about what you're looking for. And the part of the confidence as well is I touch a little bit on kind of how do you kind of embrace your femininity. And femininity and feminine power doesn't necessarily have to mean wearing flowery dresses. It doesn't have to mean being a damsel in distress, but being confident in kind of, even for women who are like badass entrepreneurs, or even the every woman who's having to run her household and everything, how can you actually kind of sit with kind of what I like to call like the divine feminine? What are the parts of you that are like soft and beautiful, nurturing, as well as being open to receiving, being
Right.
okay asking for help, being okay with being pursued, being okay to feel safe in your vulnerability and getting really in touch with your emotions. And it's a hard world out there. So a lot of that for
Yeah.
women, because we are having to do everything all of the time, we don't really are able to like, we're not really able to like tap into that as much. So getting more into kind of like your divine kind of feminine essence, that is a part of the confidence, as well as really kind of leaning into really understanding why you are an asset to date when you are 40 and better, and getting
Yes.
very, very confident in that, and really kind of leaning into all of these limiting beliefs that say you're too old, a man's not going to want a woman with wrinkles, any of this like very sexist, ageist bullshit.
Of course.
Releasing that and really kind of getting very confident in why, as a woman who is making her own money, who is raising the kids by herself, who is basically like the superwoman, really understanding that is not something that like a 21-year-old could ever offer. So
Right.
very confident in that. So I would say that's one of the, we dig into that a lot more in when I'm coaching, but really understanding your standards versus like what those nice to haves are, really embracing kind of that kind of feminine, divine feminine energy. And that doesn't have to mean dancing or wearing flowery dresses if you don't want it to. And then
Right.
also really truly embracing why, as a woman 40 and better, you are like the prize. You are the person to
Absolutely.
date. And so that's
Right.
that's kind of the a lot of the kind of the mindset work that we build on as well in the dating DNA program before we get to like the go out and play and have fun part.
No, I love that you said that. You know, for me personally, I always explain, like, if I had to like put myself out there, and a lot of my friends are like, well, what
Yeah.
would you even describe? I'm like, well, I feel like I'm the perfect storm because I know what I want. I'm
Hmm.
confident enough to know what I want. I
Yeah.
can embrace my feminine side and
Hmm.
be girly and not the damsel in distress, because
Right.
obviously I'm capable of taking care of
Sure.
my house, my family, but to embrace that feminine side, but
Yeah.
also know if you're not what I'm looking for, you're out the door, like, and
Hmm.
have this balance. I feel that
Hmm.
you can balance it in a beautiful way
Yeah.
as a woman, and, you know, not settle. Because a lot of us we were taught to settle. It could have been how we were raised, our mindset when we were younger, in our
Yeah.
20s, in our 30s.
Yeah.
We had more patience back then. So, like, oh, I guess I'll let this slide, because, you know, we didn't have that confidence in
Right.
ourselves to know we were badasses and we deserve nothing but the best for
Absolutely.
us, right? Because that looks different for everyone. But there's a level of just like, at this point, I feel we've gone through all the BS, we've
Yeah.
gone through all the crap.
Hmm.
We know who we are for the most part. We know that we just don't have the patience anymore to put up with anything less than what we deserve. So bringing that and embracing that and knowing that you're not going to die if it doesn't work out, right?
Right.
If you go on a date and the guy is just not for you, like, just
It's
accept it.
fine.
Like, okay, he's not for me. Next, you know,
Right.
and not try to grasp at
Make
straws
something of
and,
it that it's
and
not.
make
Exactly.
him right and make him the one or the one for
Right.
now. Like, don't waste your energy. Just
Yeah, it's and that's what I have a client who would always say, I can't be physically intimate with a man because I get too attached, but what if they want to have sex with me? And I said, well, if you know that you get too attached, then don't be physically intimate with someone before
right,
he's your boyfriend. Like what's to me, I'm like, I don't see the problem here. Like what do,
right,
but it is that because I think if we don't have that clarity and that confidence like cultivated, and unfortunately depending on like how you're saying how you grew up, if you grew up in a religious household, if you grew up like as a as a child of immigrants where or even like I don't know, growing up in Western society, growing up as a woman in America,
right,
especially as Gen Xers, as elder millennials and beyond, there was just kind of this weight that was put on us. And so when we are ready to date, we can't forget that if we are feeling insecure, getting curious was like, well, why are we feeling that? Why are we feeling like, oh, if I don't get chosen, if this man doesn't pick me, or if he doesn't call me back, or he doesn't, after we sleep together, I did something wrong. Be like, well,
right,
no, take ownership of who you are, but then don't be afraid to be who you are. If you know that you're gonna get attached too quickly, then don't sleep with men right away. If
right. And that's,
and
I'm glad you brought that up,
yeah.
because, you know, women have this, a lot of women have this mindset of, oh, if I don't sleep with him, I'm going to lose him.
Mhm.
And like, to me, it's like, well, if that's a core belief of what makes you
Mhm.
you, right? Then he's not the one anyways. Like, you shouldn't have to lower your
Right.
standards to keep a man. If he
Right.
can't respect the fact that you're like, we're gonna go out,
Right.
but you ain't getting any tonight, then he can hit the road. Like, just own your stuff. It goes back to ownership.
Absolutely. Own your standard. And then it's also if there's this, well, he's going to ghost me or whatever, it's in like, well, let's get curious. What are the reasons that you believe that? What
Right,
did you experience in the past? What are limiting beliefs that may be about worthiness or about, a desirability or anything like that? Because that kind of, that mentality of, oh, well, I have to compromise like that. I have to do something that's not in alignment with my beliefs and my integrity. And if you're compromising on that, it's like, what's going on with that? Like, let's kind of explore that before we get out there and and hit the streets. And so but then it's also if you are somebody who wants to be who wants to have fun and wants to be physically intimate, take ownership of that as well, that there's
exactly.
absolutely nothing wrong with that. But whatever it is and whatever you want, whatever your standard is, just take ownership of that. And yeah, absolutely, but then it's also understanding that before you date, you're going to have to just be okay with rejection. Because I have a lot of
Right,
clients say, well, I don't want to, it's kind of like this, kind of a, what do we call it? Like chicken or the egg. Well, I don't want to date because I'm going to just fall apart if I get rejected. But then it's like, okay, well, you were going to have to get rejected multiple times, and you will be rejecting others as well in
Right.
order to find a good person. That's just, that is just, you can't have one without the other. And then just,
Right.
that's fine. That's fine. That's a part of, you're not, it might, I do know women who the first time they signed up on an online date, they actually, online profile, the first person they met was the first person that they ended up remarrying, or they ended up like getting, that is very rare. So it's just kind of understanding though that you're going to have to get out there, you're going to have to practice. So for anybody who's who's an athlete, or anybody who's acquired any skills such as like foreign language, right? So I'm learning Russian because I'm a weirdo. When I go there, I'm like, if I'm working with a tutor or whatever, if I'm saying, well, I'm afraid of making a mistake, I'm afraid of making a mistake, oh, so I'm just not going to speak Russian. It's like, well, no, there's no way you're going to learn a foreign language. There's no way you're going to learn a skill unless you go in there and fuck it up. That is the only way you
Exactly.
learn. And guess what? Dating is the exact same way. But
That's
the thing
right.
is, working with dating coach and having that mindset that collapses the timeline for you. So you're
Absolutely.
not cynical. You're not, doing the wrong things and then having these limiting beliefs, but then doing these actions that only fortify your limiting beliefs and then just make you kind of cynical and ready to give up on love when that's actually what you want. And so
And it's
it's
also
having to do that work.
fear-based too. Like I
Oh
feel like
yeah,
a lot of this is also fear-based because we are also we automatically self-sabotage
of
before we
course we
even
do.
start. We're like, we're gonna fuck it up. This is gonna be a
Mhm.
disaster. I don't know what to say. Just be you. Like because just like think of
Mhm.
it like when you're trying to form your tribe and you're trying to attract the right type of friends in
Mhm.
your life. You want to embrace you authentically. So if you're nervous, if you don't know what to say, like just say it. Be like, you know what? I haven't done this in a while and it's new and
Mhm.
I'm doing my best. And if the other person accepts that, then they're human. Like they get it. Like it's, like just really be yourself and not have like this self-sabotage mindset
Absolutely.
of I'm gonna screw it up. And it gets into this vicious cycle of fear. It holds us
Yeah.
back to like, okay, I guess then I'm gonna be an old lady with seven kids. Like
Right.
you go there.
Right. Which to me, I'm like, that doesn't seem like the worst fate in the world. I'm allergic to cats, but if I wasn't, I'm like, yeah, like becoming like a Celtic bog witch, or having, living on the hill and like casting spells or whatever. I'm like, that actually doesn't sound terrible. I'm like, I'm down for that. I don't hate that. But it is really understanding and embracing when you do go out to date is, hey, what is this going to teach me about myself? And so
Exactly.
just leading with, I'm hoping to have fun and I'm going to learn something about myself. And it doesn't matter how shitty the date, how mediocre the date, you are learning something about yourself as a dater and about yourself as a personality on what you like and what you don't like, and what turns you on or what doesn't turn you on. And just if you think about dating and you approach it as, this is just going to be a grand experiment and let me just go do it, and you
Exactly.
don't put that pressure on yourself, that's the way to date. That's a healthy kind of abundant way to date.
I love that. Give my audience some red flags because again, a lot of us have been out of practice
Mhm.
a little bit. We're a little rusty. Yes, our expectations are higher now. And we kind of are to the point where we know what we want.
Sure.
But what are some red flags, especially that a lot of us aren't used to getting ourselves back out there again?
Right. So I'm not just going to give you red flags for the person that you're seeing or talking to, but let's start with our own red flags. What are some behaviors that we're doing that are getting ourselves in our own way? They're self-sabotage. So one of the ones that are kind of a red flag for us is if we are not communicating what we want. So that is a red flag for us. If you are just
Okay.
assuming somebody can read your mind, well, I was kind of hoping that you would ask me out for Thursday and I didn't hear from you. And then, well, did you say, I'd love to get to know you a little bit more. I'm available next week on Tuesdays and Thursdays for a drink. So it's kind of, you can't just assume people, certainly men, can read your mind. So don't be afraid to, if you find yourself getting angry when you just assume that someone's going to read your mind or they would just pick up on some cue, people aren't mind readers. And so that is definitely like a red flag if you find yourself doing that. So
Okay.
another red flag, and I promise I'm going to get to the ones with the fellas, but
Oh, I
another red
know.
flag, right, right. Another red flag that I would give for the ladies in the audience is if you are just automatically kind of defaulting to online dating. And that's like a big part of the component 3 of my dating DNA when I'm working with my clients is the connection part. Is if all you're thinking that dating is going to be is signing up on a couple of profiles and just swiping right and left while you're taking a shit on the toilet, and then you're getting upset that like all you're seeing is like a guy's dick pic or a guy with like holding the fish, then
Right.
what effort are you putting into it? Like, are you just signing up and saying there's no good men out there because you're literally just looking online? Literally only 10% of eligible men are even online. So a red flag is relying too much on dating apps. There are other ways for each woman that doing things that she feels great, doing things that she can feel comfortable in. Hello, going with a girlfriend to Morden Steakhouse and talking to the bartender. Like I've got like 4 numbers of guys doing that, even with my girlfriends. And so it's just doing things that make you feel good and make you feel sexy. So that is definitely like a red flag that I would have for, for the ladies. And so I think another one is kind of, we talked about this a little bit, red flag is if you were putting up really high expectations and not being realistic. If you're on an,
Right.
look, I've done this too. I swear to God, I went on the second date with this guy. This was like 10 years ago. And I had the biggest crush on him. And I was already doing what I call like mental masturbation. And we as women do
Right.
this all the time. I was like, oh, I was already planning what I was going to say to him during the wedding vows. And like the second date, this guy was a jerk. And I was just so I put like Mr. Know-It-All from Kelly Clarkson on like repeat for like 5 days because like the guy was, I'm like, now I'm gonna be, I was just like, what is going on? And so those were red flags. If if you ladies are finding yourselves doing those 3 things, relying on the
Right.
dating apps, assuming people are going to read your mind, as well as just kind of not taking it slow and having fun, watch
Right.
out for those. If you guys are doing yet those, like check yourself, don't do that. So
Love
now let's
that.
get to what we're really here for, right? The red flags of watching out for the gentleman. So I think one of the things is if for example, feel it like in your gut. If you don't feel safe, if this person is making you feel skeezy, like going right away to sex, and that's not what you want, and if that is what you want, awesome.
Right.
We all need to get dick down sometimes, right? But like with no commitment.
Love
But
you.
is it right? I mean, like let's be real
Ew.
here. Let's be real here. And so, but if you feel like and listen to your gut, because so many times we're taught to be the good girl. We're taught to just be like smile, cooperate, and graduate. Just comply.
Right.
But for some reason, if you just don't feel comfortable, don't don't push through that. If a guy's getting like
Right.
too sexual right away and you're talking to him, don't be afraid to set that, to say, no, not comfortable with that. That's not what I'm here for. So
Right.
that's a red flag. Kind of aligned with that is if a guy is disrespecting your boundaries. And so obviously that means, kind of weaving into, if he's showing you dick pics or if he's getting too sexual too quickly, and that's not something you're comfortable with, that is a red flag.
Right.
Also, I think that there's something as well as like if there is something that he's doing that you don't like or is not making you feel good and you have been dating him for a couple of dates, then you can like relay that to him. Say, you know what,
Right.
I'm doing all these things and it doesn't make me feel great that you're showing up 20 minutes late to the date. So, communicate that. And even after communicating that, if that person is not kind of responding, that's a red flag. Because obviously
Absolutely.
it goes back to the person's not a mind reader. Maybe they're on, Mediterranean time or whatever. But if you communicate, this is not what I like, it's not making me feel good, and they're still kind of ignoring that, that is a red flag. That is, it's probably not going to get, it's probably not going to get better. I think also another one, like a red flag as well, is if just, I would say, kind of another one is like, if you're not being treated but like a lady,
Right.
especially, if we're elder millennials, if we're Gen Xers, if we're baby boomers, good men learn some manners. And so
Yes.
if this sucker's like not opening the doors for you, if this guy's, just, oh, well, what do you want to do? If this guy, and this is, I probably think the main one, if this guy is not making a fucking plan and you're at the very
Ugh.
beginning of the date, sweethearts, it's not going to get any better. And so that is a red
Right.
flag. That is a red flag that if he is putting all of that emotional labor on you and that emotional burden on you, I would say no. Because that is something, oh, well, I don't know. What do you want to do? Go fucking make a plan. You know,
I've had that. I've heard that so many times, not for me personally, my
yeah.
friends, because I have not dated yet.
Mhm.
And they're like, they always talk to me and they're like, Dawn, like I'm going out Friday night and he's asking me what I want to do. And I'm like, I sit there and I question, like, aren't any old school guys out there
Yeah.
anymore that just plan the date and be like, hey, um, wear sneakers, or hey, we're going someplace, like a little clue so that you know
Right.
how to dress, obviously
Right.
appropriately for the date. Where, like, I there are men out there, guys. I'm serious. If y'all are listening to this, I hope there are some good old fashioned gentlemen out there that just know how to treat a woman, just
Mhm.
plan the date. Don't put all that crap on us. Like,
Right. Because we're
you
tired
support
and
us.
we're having to wear the push-up bras. So it's kind of like, we're the ones tweezing our eyebrows, like maybe shaving the chocha, like, or whatever. So it's like,
Hey, put some
we're
effort
already
in.
doing all the work.
God.
And so there are some folks, and I've heard this, that if they're like, well, I don't, some women are like, I don't want that. So it's like, well, that's bullshit because all women want that. But if you are talking to a gentleman, if you want to set them up for the win, because sometimes, then if they don't like take that, then it's like, okay, this is probably not the guy for you. But even saying, you know what, I really love wine and I'm available during these 2 days. Make it happen.
Give him a little hint,
Give them a,
something.
yep,
Yeah,
just right. And then
agree
because
with
I think
that.
as well, like if a guy is not willing to kind of take the lead, especially at the beginning of dating, it's not going to get any better.
Right.
So those are
Yeah.
definite red flags that I advise my clients about, as well as, obviously we have the red flags if he's rude to the waiter or if he's, being overly sexual. But there's those other red flags that if you don't like it and it's not making you feel good and it's making you feel like, why am I doing everything? I feel like those red flags are equally as important. So those are the things, one of the many things I tell my clients, and that's definitely for the ladies listening or the gentlemen as well who, want to take a hint. Those are things that I would definitely advise folks to take under consideration if they are looking to date and find love that they want and they want to experience that.
Absolutely, and I couldn't agree more. And I think another one too that popped into my mind is validating too. So, having these open forms of communication that both of you could effectively communicate back and forth. Because if you
Yeah.
can't start building up that foundation from the beginning
Mm-hmm.
of, hey, you know what? This made me feel a little uncomfortable. And then they
Yeah.
validate how you feel
Mm-hmm.
and say, you know what? I'm sorry. That wasn't my intention. I didn't mean to
Yeah.
make you feel that way. Thank you for letting me know
Mm-hmm.
that won't happen again. Not only are you able to express yourself, but he's also validating your
Absolutely.
truth, which is huge. And I think a lot of women, especially in this day and age, and I'm sure it works for the guys too. I'm not
Mm-hmm.
just like, woman power here today. I
Right.
know it's very mutual that a lot of us don't feel
Yeah.
validated. We don't effectively communicate in a relationship
Yeah.
and we're not validated.
And
So,
we've never been taught those skills. And so it
right.
is, if there's something that, if you are dating someone or you've gone a couple dates and you like them, but there's something that maybe here's an example that I had when I was dating my now husband. There was something that he I don't is it was kind of go down a rabbit hole if we talk about it. But I said, I was, over text, I said, hey, that actually made me feel, really like not valued when that happened. And it made me feel XYZ. And I want, I'm just a little bit angry with that. And he said, I'm so sorry. That was never my intention. I really appreciate you letting me know. I want to do XYZ. And so the thing is, we're all going to fuck it up. We're always going to fuck shit up, but it is communicating, especially if it's people that we care about. Now, if it's somebody that you don't, like, I don't even want to go on a date with that guy again. I'm not even gonna, why even bother? But if it's somebody
Right.
that, you care about and maybe, you do see something there, it's not giving people the benefit of the doubt so they walk all over you, but it is that validating, hey, this is how I felt, this is what's going on, and really kind of giving each other kind of a chance to see each other's view and fix it. because if you don't do that, you're going to start to build up resentment. And we know, I think one of the things they say, what is it, like 67% of divorces are initiated by women because we've had years, if not decades, of resentment until the point that we're like, it's
Oh,
like a shattered vase. And so
it is.
when we want to get out there and we want to get off on the right foot again, and we want to get off, nothing wrong with, and I would definitely encourage that, is to be honest and to have that open communication. Because remember, people aren't mind readers, but
That's
then
right.
also you deserve to have your say in the relationship as well. And remember that it's not, if you do want to have a relationship and you do like that person, it is two imperfect humans coming together and working through things. And
That's right.
and I think when we remember that, especially from a relationship standpoint, even to dating, remember, a lot of these fellas haven't dated in a while either. That if we can give
Right.
each other the benefit of the doubt a little bit, as long as they're not being jack-offs and assholes, then that is going to be kind of I would say, a far firmer ground and a more fun ground to go and start kind of dating
Exactly.
and putting yourself out there.
Yeah, because you guys can figure it out together. That's how I look at
Absolutely.
it. Like the
Mhm.
more you're honest and he's honest and you guys, you can kind of laugh about it and be like,
Oh yeah,
this is new for both of us. Let's just figure it out.
absolutely.
It can be fun, and you have to be optimistic and open-minded and not shut your heart off and not communicate. This is key, and this is key too. Listening,
Mhm.
validating each other. And I love that you said that. What would be one last nugget of badass information, badass advice that you could give my listeners today before we wrap this up?
Oh my gosh. Okay. So this is, oh, now I'm having like performance anxiety. So
Uh-oh.
one little bit of information I think is kind of, don't be afraid to have fun.
I love it.
That's all. It doesn't have to be high pressure. And at the end of the day, if it was a disaster date, then what you learned was that is not the type of person you want to date again. And
Bingo.
because he is going to be paying for it, you got a free meal or a free drink. So
That's another, yeah. Like,
yeah,
let him
man
pay.
should always pay for
Like,
the
you're
first
right.
date
Let him
because
court
you're
you.
putting the time in to do your hair,
Right.
to do your makeup, to pick up, to fucking put on the uncomfortable bra. You're like, I got out of my sports bra for this. And
I
so
still believe in chivalry. I'm sorry.
don't
I'm an old
apologize for that.
school. Yeah, like, and
Don't
it's
apologize
not
for
like
that.
it's a
Mm-mm.
sorry, not sorry thing for me, to
Love
be
it.
honest. But just
Mm-hmm.
I'm old school. I want to be courted. I want to, I know my worth. I know what I have to offer as a person. And cat chases mouse. I'm sorry. Like,
Yeah,
of course, once the cat gets the mouse, then it's equal. Of course, I
right.
want to love back and give back. And of course, that, like, I think in that way it should be equal. And sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's 70-30, depending on the relationship. Sometimes he's the rock, sometimes you're the rock, but you grow together, you learn together. What I always also tell a lot of my friends, a lot of my
Yeah.
clients is, don't lose yourself in it
No,
too. Like, grow separately and then grow together, because
absolutely.
that's the foundation of a good relationship. Like, allow
Absolutely.
you guys to grow and not, don't put each other on
Lose
this
your
pedestal.
identity. Yeah.
Right. Be right. Don't lose your identity. Like, lesson learned, like,
Oh,
hands
I
down,
hear
here,
you.
this girl
Been
right
there,
here.
been there, done
Never
that. Yeah.
again. Never again. Martha, I loved this conversation. I
Yeah.
definitely want you back. I definitely want you back
Absolutely.
on the show. I would love to just follow up with you down the road and just
Oh
be
yeah.
like, hey, this is pretty hard. You have like a
Yeah.
million subscribers, and
Love it.
like, I appreciate your time so much. Guys, thank you so much. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, help grow my channel. I am on a mission to spread the message. You have all the tools in your toolbox each and every week. We have these awesome experts come on, and I'm doing this because I love you guys and I want you guys to feel empowered in every way, shape, and form. So thank you so much for being here, and I will see you on the next episode. Take care, guys. Bye.